In a lonely mountain village in Yunnan province, China, where clouds kiss the mountainside every day, stories of a mysterious valley have been circulating for centuries. The locals call it Mong Lung, meaning invisible beauty. No one has ever been there, no one has ever returned. On satellites, the place is hazy as fog, as if nature itself has hidden its secret gems. Lin Zhao, a young geographer who has spent his life searching for mysterious lands, suddenly finds a reference to Mong Lung in an old Chinese manuscript. It reads, "This sentence draws Lin Zhao on a dangerous expedition. He is accompanied by his friend and drone expert, Mei Li, and a mysterious old man, Chen, who claims to have once reached the edge of Mong Lung, but has lost half of his memories upon returning. They set off into the deep jungles of Yunnan. The first few days were easy, mountains, rivers, forests. But on the seventh day, they reached a place where the compass didn't work, the GPS was dead, and there were no birds in the sky. This is where the shadow of Mong Lung began," Chen says. Their drone was sent into the sky, but the video feed showed only white mist. Suddenly, for just 3 seconds, a glimpse was seen, a valley where flowers floated in the wind, the river flowed in the opposite direction, and the mountains were painted with glowing images. The three entered the mist. Time seemed to stand still. They saw a strange tree with poems written on its leaves. A river whose waters revealed their own past. A waterfall whose sound echoed the voices of lost people. But amidst this beauty, there was fear. The guardian of the valley, an invisible being, whom the locals called Zhenlong, the mysterious dragon. She protects beauty, but steals the memories of those who bring greed. Chen suddenly disappears. Mei Li begins to lose her memory. Lin Zhao realizes that Mong Lung is not just beauty, but a test. Nature wants to know, have you really come to experience beauty, or to capture it? As they enter the fog, time seems to have stopped. The clock is stopped, the air is silent, and a strange light surrounds them, not the sun nor the moon, but as if from an unknown source. Lin Zhao, Mei Li, and Chen slowly move forward, the grass humming under their feet. Finally, they reach a tree, whose leaves are transparent, and on each leaf is written. Chen suddenly stops. Fear in his eyes. "I have seen this tree before," he whispers. "I was alone then, and then my memory is lost." Mei Li turns on the drone, but only a strange image appears on the screen. 3 shadows, but their body shapes are constantly changing. As if Mong Lung was examining their appearance. They walked towards a river, the water of which flowed in the opposite direction. Lin Zhao sat down by the river, and as he looked into the water, he saw his childhood, in his mother's arms, his father's smile, and an old book called Invisible Beauty. Mei Li looked into the water and shouted, "I see my future." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Will I one day become the guardian of this valley?" Chen said, "Mong Lung not only shows the past, but also the future. But what you see is not always true." Suddenly, lightning flashed in the sky, but there was no sound. Water was not falling from a fountain, but rising up. They walked towards the fountain, and they heard a voice. The three were silent. Nature seemed to be reading their hearts. Behind the fountain was a cave, on the wall of which was painted a picture of a dragon, Zhenlong. There was fire in his eyes, but a smile on his face. Below. They entered the cave. Inside was a round room, with a crystal floating in the middle. Chen said, "This is the heart of Mong Lung. If you touch it, you will know the truth." Lin Zhao stepped forward. As soon as he raised his hand to the crystal, light spread around. He saw a city where people were laughing, trees were talking, and time no longer existed. Everything was frozen in an eternal moment. But suddenly he saw a shadow that looked like himself, but with greed in its eyes. The shadow said, "Do you want to show this beauty to the world, or keep it to yourself?" Lin Zhao was silent. His heart was in doubt. At this moment, Zhenlong's shadow emerged from the cave wall. There was a question on his face, a test in his eyes. As the light spread inside the cave, a strange change began to occur around it. The paintings on the walls began to move, as if they had come to life. A shadow slowly emerged from Zhenlong's picture. His eyes were ablaze with fire, and his face was a calm smile. Lin Zhao, Mei Li, and Chen paused. Zhenlong did not speak, but his presence seemed to speak to their hearts. "You came to seek beauty, But is beauty only for the eyes? Chen knelt down. I came once, he said. I wanted to capture beauty. That's why my memory is lost. Zhenlong looked at her, and a flash of light appeared in Chen's eyes. He suddenly said, I forgot my daughter's face. I loved her. Mei Li stepped forward. I came here to know, to feel. I don't want to take anything. Zhenlong looked at her, and his drone suddenly floated into the air. The screen showed a secret part of Monglung, a flower forest, where each flower holds a human memory. Lin Zhao stepped forward towards the crystal. I want everyone to see this beauty, he said. But I know it can't be captured. I just want to tell a story. Zhenlong spoke now. His voice was deep, like the roar of a mountain and the melody of a river combined. If you really want to tell a story, you have to pass a test. You have to lose what you love most. Are you ready? Lin Zhao was silent. Tears welled up in his eyes. I'm ready. Zhenlong walked towards him. His body slowly filled with light, and he entered Lin Zhao's memory. He saw Lin Zhao's mother, his first book, his first love. Can you let go of these memories, just for one story? Lin Zhao said, if that story touches the hearts of others, then yes. Zhenlong laughed. You pass. Suddenly, the cave walls opened, and they saw the true form of Monglung, a valley where there is no time, no words, only feelings. Flowers sing, rivers recite poems, and people's dreams float in the air. Chen could remember his daughter's face. Mei Li saw the path to her future. And Lin Zhao realized that beauty can never be captured, it can only be felt. Zhenlong slowly disappeared into the light. The cave walls were still again, but a change had taken place in their hearts. Monglung was no longer just a valley, it was a feeling, a lesson, a story. The three of them emerged from the cave, and they saw a new form of the valley. The flowers were leaning towards them, as if saying goodbye. The river is now flowing straight, and a melody is floating in the air. You didn't capture the beauty, so it gave you a place in your heart. Chen's eyes filled with tears. I can remember my daughter's face, he said. I will get her back. Mei Li turned on the drone, but this time she didn't take any pictures. She just said, this place can't be captured on camera. It can only be kept in the heart. Lin Zhao started writing in her notebook. But she knew that no one would believe this story. So she decided she would tell the story, but never reveal the location of Monglung. They returned to the mountain village in Yunnan. The locals were surprised to see them. You're back, an old man said. Did you really go to Monglung? Lin Zhao just smiled. We felt the beauty, he said. And it changed us. Then Lin Zhao wrote a book, The Beauty of China You've Never Seen. The book caused a stir around the world. But no one knew if it was true or fiction. Some said, it's just a story. Some said, I dreamed of that valley. And some said, there's a place on the satellite where there's always fog. Mei Li made a video where she simply said, if you ever go to a place where time stops and the heart speaks, then you'll know you're standing in the shadow of Monglung. Chen reconnected with her daughter. She said, I forgot you, but now I only see your face. And Lin Zhao. She tells stories now. Every story has a valley, a dragon, and a question. Did you come to experience beauty, or to capture it? Lin Zhao's book, The Beauty of China You've Never Seen, caused a stir around the world after its publication. Readers wondered, is it true? Does such a place really exist? Why can't it be captured by satellite? Some considered the book to be a work of fiction. But some readers, especially those who read with their hearts, felt that there was something in this story that could not only be seen with the eyes, but also felt. One day, a young Japanese explorer, Takashi, read the book and decided he would go in search of Monglung. He was joined by 3 others, a Brazilian poet, a Canadian painter, and an Indian monk. They believed that if beauty truly resides in the heart, the path would open up by itself. They reached Yunnan, but the locals discouraged them. It's just a story, one of them said. Those who went never returned. Nevertheless, they moved forward. Every sentence in Lin Zhao's book guides them. They find that river, that tree, that foggy path. But this time Monglung has hidden himself. Zhenlong knows that not everyone is ready. Confusion begins among them. The poet says, "Have we come the wrong way?" The painter says, "I just want to catch a glimpse." The monk is silent. He says, "Beauty cannot be found, it must be called." They sit together, close their eyes, and call out to Mong Lung with their hearts. Suddenly, that familiar melody floats in the air. The mist shifts. The river flows in the opposite direction. And they see that valley, a glimpse, just a few seconds. Takashi says, "We are not ready. Mong Lung is testing us." They turn back, but that glimpse remains in their hearts. They spread stories, pictures, poems, all inspired by Mong Lung's shadow, all around the world. Meanwhile, Lin Zhao begins writing a new book. Those who only see with their eyes, lose. Those who see with their hearts, find. Mei Li creates an animation in which the flowers of Mong Lung sing, and Zhenlong asks the children, "Have you come to experience beauty?" Chen returns to Yunnan with his daughter. He takes her to the riverbank and says, "If you ever get lost, look into the water of this river. I will always be by your side." Books, animations, poems, all of them, Mong Lung has now become a mysterious light that has spread around the world. But no one knows when the valley will reveal itself again. Meanwhile, Lin Zhao is old now. His hair is white, his eyes are peaceful. He no longer writes, but only tells stories. His favorite audience? His grandson, 7-year-old Li Han. Li Han was an imaginative child. Every day, he would sit by his grandfather and listen to stories about Mong Lung, Zhenlong, the opposite river, the poetry tree, and that crystal. One day he said, "Grandpa, will I ever be able to go to Mong Lung?" Lin Zhao smiled and said, "If you call with your heart, Mong Lung will find you." That night, Li Han had a dream. He was walking in a flower forest, music was floating in the air, and Zhenlong was standing in front of him. Zhenlong said, "Did you just come to listen to the story, or do you want to be a story yourself?" Li Han said, "I want everyone to laugh, everyone to feel. I want the flowers of Mong Lung to be my friends." Zhenlong walked towards him. "You are ready, little storyteller." The next morning, Li Han woke up and said to his grandfather, "I went to Mong Lung in my dream. I talked to the flowers." Lin Zhao was silent, tears in his eyes. He knew that Mong Lung had returned again, this time in the heart of a child. Li Han went to school and started telling stories to his friends. Some laughed, some listened, some said, "You're just imagining it." But one day, a girl sat silently after listening to his story. Tears in her eyes. She said, "I lost my mother. But in your story, I felt her again." Li Han understood that stories are not just entertainment, they are a light, a comfort. Meanwhile, in that mountain village in Yunnan, an old man Chen sits by the river again. He sees a child's face floating in the river. He whispers, "Mong Lung has woken up again." Li Han is now 8 years old. His drawings hang on the wall of his school, a river, flowing in the opposite direction, a tree, with poems written on its leaves, and a dragon, with peace in its eyes, not fire. He begins to write his first story. He calls it, "I Talked to a Flower One Day." In the story, he describes how one night he dreams of a valley, where flowers listen to his sorrows, a river shows him his mistakes, and a dragon asks him, "Are you here just to play, or to love with all your heart?" He reads the story to the school. The teachers are stunned. One teacher says, "There is something in this story that is not just imagination, it is feeling." The story is published in a local newspaper, then in a children's literature magazine. Then one day, Lin Zhao's old publisher calls, "Is this child your grandson? I see the shadow of Mong Lung in his story." Li Han's story spreads. Japan, Brazil, Canada, India, those who went in search of Mong Lung one day, read the story and say, "We found the smell of that flower forest again." Meanwhile, on the bank of that river in Yunnan, Chen sits. He sees, floating in the water of the river, a picture of a leaf, the first page of Li Han's story. He smiles. Mong Lung has become a story now. And the story never loses. Li Han now writes every day. His stories contain laughter, tears, questions, answers, all in the form of Mong Lung. One day he asks his grandfather, "Will I be able to go there again one day?" Lin Zhao says, "You go every day, in your story, in your heart." Li Han's story, "I Once Spoke to a Flower," is now a favorite of children. The story is read in schools, libraries, and even in the children's wards of hospitals. One day, an invitation comes from a special school in the city. It teaches children who cannot speak. Some are born with it, some are born with it by accident. Li Han goes there with his grandfather. He has his storybook in his hand, and a strange excitement in his eyes. As he enters the classroom, he sees the children sitting quietly. Some are looking into each other's eyes, some are drawing pictures, some are just looking out the window. The teacher says, "They can't speak, but they feel. If you tell a story, they will listen." Li Han begins, "One day I went to a place in my dream, where flowers talked, rivers flowed in the opposite direction, and a dragon asked me, 'Are you just here to play, or to love with your heart?'" The classroom is silent. But suddenly a child, whose name is Yunnan, has tears in her eyes. She slowly draws a flower in her notebook, and writes below it, "I came to love." The teacher says in surprise, "She has never reacted like this. You touched her heart." Li Han sits down next to Yunnan. He says, "If you want, we can go to Mong Lung together. Close your eyes, and call with your heart." The two close their eyes. A melody seems to float in the air. Fog gathers outside the window. And Yunnan suddenly smiles, a silent but radiant smile. Lin Zhao, watching from afar, whispers, "Mong Lung is no longer just a valley, it is a feeling, a connection." After that, Yunnan draws pictures every day, flowers, rivers, dragons. There are stories in her drawings, melodies in her silence. Li Han writes a new story for her, "He who does not speak, feels most deeply." Yunnan now draws pictures every day. Her paintings include the upside-down river, the tree of poetry, and that calm-eyed dragon, Zhenlong. Her pictures are featured in local exhibitions. Viewers say, "These pictures are not just beautiful, they say something." One day, he draws a picture, a flower forest with a door in the middle. The door is inscribed, "He who sees with his heart can open this door." Li Han stops when he sees the picture. "I have never seen this door," he says. "There was nothing like it in my story." Yunnan says, "I saw it in a dream. I was walking in that flower forest, and suddenly the door appeared in front of me. I couldn't open it, but I know it's real." The picture goes viral. One art critic says, "The structure, the colors, the shadows, all of this door are beyond reality. It's like a hint of another world." Lin Zhao stares at the picture in silence. Tears well up in his eyes. "I've been to Mong Lung," he says, "but I've never seen this door. Maybe it's new, maybe it's just for children." Then Yunnan draws more pictures, flowers singing around the door, a river flowing toward the door, and Zhenlong watching from afar. One day, he draws a picture where a new valley appears inside the door, where there is no time, no sound, only light. Li Han says, "Are we going to Mong Lung again? This time on a new path?" Yunnan laughs. "We never came from Mong Lung. We are just telling its story, drawing its picture, and opening its door." Yunnan's paintings are now on display at international exhibitions. A Chinese archaeologist, Dr. Huang Li, was stunned when he saw his painting Valley inside the door. The structure of this door, this arrangement of flowers, I saw them once, on the wall of an ancient cave that was discovered in 1972 but later closed. He contacted Lin Zhao. "Has your grandson ever seen the paintings in that cave in Yunnan?" Lin Zhao said, "No. He just dreams, and paints with his heart." Dr. Huang Li said, "Then he has the history of Mong Lung inside him. Something we have lost." Together they went into the old cave. The door was closed, but based on Yunnan's painting, they pressed a certain spot on the wall. Suddenly, the wall moved, and a secret room opened. Inside, they saw the door, just as Yunnan had drawn it. Ancient Chinese writing on the door. They opened the door and entered. There was a huge mural, the story of the birth of Mong Lung. Once upon a time, this valley was a meeting place for people, nature, and feelings. But greed, war, and attempts to occupy Mong Lung hid itself. Zhenlong was then created, the protector, the examiner, and the bearer of stories. Li Han whispered, we didn't just tell stories, we awakened history. Yulin stood in front of the wall and said, "This place is not just ours, it belongs to all children who see with their hearts." Dr. Huangli said, "We have thought of Monglung as a fantasy until now. But it is history, feelings, and inheritance." News of the caves and ancient doors discovered based on Yulin's drawings spread around the world. The headlines in the media. The history of the Lost Valley was found in a child's picture. Is Monglung really real? At first, people were amazed. But soon, some corporate companies, technology companies, and billionaire investors became interested in this discovery. They said, if this place is real, it could be the world's biggest tourist attraction. And some said, if we digitize the beauty of Monglung, everyone can experience it at home. Li Han and Yu Lin were horrified by the news. They knew that Monglung was not a product. It was an experience, an experiment. Lin Zhao said, if someone wants to take over Monglung, Zhenlong will wake up again. And this time he will not forgive. Dr. Huang Li tried to convince the archaeologists, this place is not just history, it is alive. It should not be excavated, but respected. But one day, in a secret mission, some people placed a drone on the gate, scanned the structure of the wall, and created a virtual Monglung with AI. They announced, coming soon, Monglung VR. Enjoy the beauty of the valley from home. That night, lightning suddenly began to fall in the sky of Yunnan. The fog thickened. The river flowed in the opposite direction, but this time its water was black. Li Han dreamed that Zhenlong's eyes were red. He said. The next day, Yu Lin opened her photo book and saw that every flower had withered. The photo of the door had burst through the middle. She said, Monglung is crying. Li Han, Yu Lin, and Dr. Huang Li decided they would go to that cave again, stand in front of the door, and prove themselves as protectors to Zhenlong. They knew that this time it was not just a story, it was a war. A war of hearts, of faith, and of beauty. Li Han, Yu Lin, and Dr. Huang Li arrived at the cave. The wind had stopped in front of the door. The river is silent, the flowers are drooping. Zhenlong's shadow moves on the cave wall. There is fire in his eyes, silence on his face. Suddenly the door opens, but this time it is dark inside. There is no light, no valley. Zhenlong's voice comes through. Li Han says, we love Monglung, but we don't want anyone to take him. Yu Lin says, I am willing to erase my pictures, if it saves Monglung. Dr. Huang Li says, I will stop my research, if it is to save history. Zhenlong is silent. Then he says. The three look at each other. They know that this is not just a journey, it is a sacrifice. They enter the door. Walking through the darkness, they see a light, a crystal, which is Monglung's heart. Suddenly Zhenlong appears, his form clear now, a huge dragon, with flowers, rivers, poetry, and fire on its body. He says. Li Han, Yu Lin, and Dr. Huang Li raise their hands together. They touch the crystal. In an instant, light spreads. The cave shakes. The door closes. Zhenlong slowly disappears. They return, but the cave is gone. The river is flowing straight again. The flowers are smiling. Li Han opens his storybook, and on the first page is written. Li Han is now a young writer. His book, Flowers Speak, has won a place in the hearts of children. Yu Lin is a painter whose paintings are now spreading the beauty of Monglung at international exhibitions. Their story is now in textbooks, their name is now like a fairy tale. But they know that Monglung is not a past, it is a moving experience. One day, in a small town school, a 5-year-old child, his name is Ming Ju, draws a picture. The picture shows a door, surrounded by no flowers, no river, only the lines of the wind. On the door is written. The teachers are surprised by the picture. They send it to Li Han. Li Han stops when he sees the picture. I have never seen this door, he says. But this sentence, it is as if Monglung himself is saying it. He calls Yu Lin. They meet Ming Ju. The child is silent, but there is a deep light in his eyes. Li Han asks, where did you hear about this door? Ming Ju says, I went to a place in a dream one night. Someone told me, if you listen to stories, you will tell stories one day. Yu Lin whispers, Mong Lung is calling again. They begin a new story based on Ming Ju's picture, The Door That Talks. The story follows a child's journey, where he simply listens, feels, and one day becomes a door himself, through which others enter Mong Lung. This story spreads. A new movement begins among children: listen, feel, tell stories. School after school holds a drawing competition for children, where some draw rivers, some flowers, and some just a door. Mong Lung is no longer a place, says Li Han. It is a legacy that is born in the heart of every child. Li Han and Yu Lin are now not just storytellers and artists, they are the guardians of Mong Lung. Their job now is to spread the feeling among children that once changed their lives. Their initiative started a global children's experience festival, Mong Lung Day. On this day, children in different parts of the world close their eyes, listen to stories, draw pictures, and feel with their hearts. The first year, 10 countries participated. The second year, 50. In the third year, thousands of children in 100 countries around the world closed their eyes for a moment and said. At that moment, a strange light appeared in the sky of Yunnan. The fog gathered, the river stopped, and that familiar melody floated in the air. Li Han whispered, Mong Lung has awakened again. But this time it is not a place, it is a heart. Yulin opened her picture book and saw that the flowers drawn by each child had merged into a huge picture, one that no one had drawn before, no one had imagined. The picture showed a valley, with every tree, river, and mountain born from the hearts of children. Dr. Huang Li said, This is not history, this is the future. Mong Lung now lives among children. One day, a blind child, her name is Sarah, feels the image of Yu Lin with her finger. She says, I can't see, but I feel. This place is inside me. Li Han writes a new story for her. He who does not see with his eyes, feels most deeply. Mong Lung is no longer a cave, a river, or a door. It is a movement, a light, a legacy. A NASA astronaut, Louisa Chen, is on a research mission 400 kilometers away from Earth. She has some books with her, one of which is Li Han's Flowers Speak. One night, looking out the window of the space capsule, she was reading the book. Suddenly, tears came to her eyes. There is something in this story that touches the heart even from outside the world. She closes her eyes and feels a river, a flower, a door. Suddenly, a strange shadow appears on the capsule screen, a valley line that no satellite has ever seen before. Mong Lung is not just the Earth, it is the feeling of the universe, he says. He returns to Earth and says, I saw Mong Lung's shadow in space. I know it's not just a story, it is a truth that can be seen with the heart. Li Han is now old. Yu Lin is a teacher who teaches children to draw, but every lesson he teaches contains the story of Mong Lung. One day, they return to the old cave in Yunnan. They see that the cave is no longer there. But there are rivers, flowers, and that familiar melody in the air. Li Han says, We saved Mong Lung. Now he is saving us. They sit down and write a new story together, The Valley That Lives in the Heart. The story is not a book, not an exhibition. It is just a letter that they leave by the river, as if someone from the future will read it. Written in the letter. Years pass. One day, a child, named Aaron, finds a letter on his grandfather's old bookshelf. He reads it, and tears come to his eyes. He says, I want to go to this place. He closes his eyes, and feels it, a river, a flower, a door. In his notebook, he draws a picture, a valley, unnamed, but with feelings in every line. His mother asks, Where did you see it? Aaron says, I didn't see it. I felt it. And so, Mong Lung is reborn, with a new heart, with a new story. It's not the end. It's a beginning.